Now, for more on this, we can speak to our guest today, Adrien Berthel, member of the Global Sumud France organization. He was on board the flotilla when it got detained. Adrien, thank you very much for joining us here on France 24.
Thank you for welcoming me.
So let's dive straight into it. Let's start with the moment of the raid. Could you take us back to the moment that the Israeli forces boarded your vessel?
So I was on the last mission and on this mission, and it has nothing to do. We can clearly see an escalation of violence. This was not just a raid. They just kidnapped us, put us in a prison boat where they tortured us really badly. And I was really afraid because there was no control on the violence. We had to go through, when we went put in a prison boat, we had to go through a container where there was 3 soldiers beating us in the dark, where all the violence was not documented, was not visible. And one by one, we were going through this container and we had different kind of violences based on our passport, based on how we look, and based on all the racism they are expressing. Some had like beating down, some were like shot with different weapons, some were like tased with like this electrical taser, and others were even like injected with a syringe. And of course, the sexual violence. It was really, really difficult because we had to go one by one into this to go to the open air prison. And when we arrived to the open air prison, we were hearing our other comrades getting beaten one by one. And when you arrive to the open air prison, you can just see that's only like 3 containers and there is nothing else. And we had to sleep on the floor, on wet floors. We were like, we had just one t-shirt and the floor was just wooden floor with a lot of dirt and stuff. And some people had broken ribs and had to sleep on the floor. There was no control about the situation. Every soldier could do whatever he wanted. There was no control of Israel. It could have escalated really, really fast. We even asked, one guy was really badly hurt, and we asked him for him to be isolated, and he had no medical visit. Israel were not even planning on just caring if there was an escalation. It was really, really horrifying. We were all in hypervigilance and just trying to care for each other the best we could with what we had.
So the Israeli prison authorities actually denied any kind of physical or sexual abuse. They said that the treatment was in line with their regulations. How do you respond to Israel's denials of these allegations of physical abuse?
I didn't know that, and it's make me laugh now because it's, of course, I mean, the thing, as I said, all the violence was not documented. So we all only can relate with our stories. And what we experienced is nothing compared to what the Palestinians experienced, and their violence is also not documented. And that's really difficult because they can claim whatever they want. I can see now that Ben-Gvir filmed himself, the video that was like a bit like a buzz, but it was the tip of the violence we experienced. And this already like made a reaction at the international level. So like Netanyahu had to react, but Netanyahu knows this kind of violence. He didn't need this video to be aware of this kind of violences. He only reacted because there's a bit of international pressure. But if they knew what the Palestinians are going through, and if what I'm really sad is like Europeans has to suffer a tip of what the Palestinians suffer to have an international reactions. But I just wished that the international will react for what the Palestinians are suffering, and that we didn't have to do that. We didn't have to provoke them like that. But they, of course, know there's much worse. Netanyahu didn't need this video to know what's happening, and they're only reacting to de-escalate the international pressure. But we can only see that the international pressure comes from mass mobilization. And that's what we're trying to do there, to raise awareness of what's happening in Palestine with the Palestinians, and they got much worse. We talk about children being amputized, being their members cut without any medicine, without any anesthesia. And this is much worse than what we had. We had broken ribs, we had like a French girl still in the hospital, was almost paralyzed. This is really, really bad. And our stories, our bodies are the truth, the proof that what they're saying is wrong. They didn't respect any laws. They didn't respect anything.
And so the Israeli Foreign Ministry officially dismissed the Gaza flotilla mission as a PR flotilla and labeled any supporters of this fleet as pro-terror. So as an activist who was on those boats, how do you respond to accusations that your mission was less about aid and more about provocation?
It's really sad because, I've been on this mission twice and I've seen amazing humans full of humanity, and the terror is on their side. What I've seen for all the Israeli soldiers and all the Israeli police is how much they take pleasure into beating and how much they are professionalized in humiliation and in terror. And they are the one holding the violence today. They are the one who are holding the terror, and it's not us. We are entitled through international law to deliver the aid. And we knew we will go into this violence. And that's why it makes it like a provocation for them. But we were entitled. We are trying to make the international law be respected and to put pressure on all the governments for the international law to be respected. Because if no one does something, the world is going to be a mess. We want international law to be respected. That's all. That's all we're asking for now. And we want visibility on the Palestinians because they've been suffering the worst of this genocide, of this colonization, without anyone saying anything to Israel. So it's not a provocation. They are provoking us.
And your fleet was carrying vital food and medical supplies meant for the Gaza civilians. Now that the activists like you have been deported, do you have any idea of what happened to that aid? Has it been permanently confiscated or gotten rid of?
So the ship were carrying some aid, and what they did when we boarded the ship, they kidnapped us and they destroyed the ships. So the ships are now on the Mediterranean Sea without anyone on it, and it's just like floating objects, which is really problematical for the navigation of the other ships. They didn't do anything with this aid, but of course, our ships are small sailing ships and are not fully loaded with aid because we knew, like, if were fully loading them, they will not arrive Gaza. So the idea was to break the siege politically, to have enough support from the governments, from this mass mobilization to break the siege. And if we would have succeeded, we would have come with much better aid and with better equipment. But as we knew the risk of interception was so high, we didn't fully loaded the boats to preserve some money.
And as you said, this is not the first time that you boarded the flotilla, and so you were willing to risk your physical safety and freedom twice, I understand, to break this naval blockade off the Gaza Strip. Can you explain to us what has driven you to board this seabound flotilla twice now?
It's simply being a human. What's the worst for me is not only seeing people hurting others, is seeing the silence around it, seeing the whole world not reacting to this injustice. And I'm a human. My life is not greater than the Palestinians, and I want to support. And this is the first time in history that there is an international solidarity of citizens of all over the world acting in a non-violent way. This never happened. Usually it happens within a country where there is a mass mobilization of citizens in a nonviolent way. And this proves that the world is seeing what's happening. The states who are complicit are not acting. So this is, again, the mass mobilization, the citizens that need to act for their rights to be respected. And if I don't do that, which world are we going to live in? Which world our children are going to live in? This is really sad because the world now don't want the duo Trump and Netanyahu. The majority of the world don't want those extreme right leaders. However, they are the ones who are ruling now. And if we let them rule, we lost the battle. We are a majority. We don't want them, but yet they rule. So we need to act. Otherwise, we're going to get into this world that no one wants.
And there's been quite a big international reaction this time regarding your detention. But did you wait anything in particular from France?
Not really, to be honest, and I'm really disappointed. I'm proud of what the Spain position. It could be better, but actually, there's only a few countries that are saving a bit Europe right now. But yeah, I'm sad, but I didn't expect anything, so I'm not disappointed. France has been complicit in the genocide as selling weapons to Israel, so I wouldn't expect anything from them. But I'm sad about the French. We are people that can mobilize, but the problem is that most of them didn't know a flotilla was happening because the media coverage was not there. We've been calling on the media for months because we've been preparing this mission for months, but we had to wait to suffer for the media to come. And that's really sad. It's only when Europeans are suffering that the media get interested and then the citizens are knowing about the flotilla. But that's not how it should work. We should raise awareness way before. We should mobilize way before. And that's what is really sad at the end. But it's nothing to be everything to be accepted. Oh, sorry, I was
That's okay.
I knew about that.
Thank you very
Sorry.
much. Thank you very much, Adrien, for your time and for that incredibly insightful interview. That was Adrien Berthel from the Global Sumud France organization.